One of the crazy things about the Bible is that, just like every other great story, you never seem to know what's coming next. Which is maybe how Joshua felt when he took over for Moses. Here was Israel, standing at the edge of the land that God had promised to their ancestor Abraham, thinking now might be the time that things finally got easier for them. But the land, it turns out, was filled with a bunch of other nations. If Israel wanted to take possession of the land, and they did, they'd have to fight for it. But up to this point, Israel hadn't done a lot of fighting, except with each other. If they were going to fight against nations with experienced armies, they were going to need some pretty unique strategies. One nation had a city called Jericho, with an enormous wall built around it that prevented anyone from attacking them. God told Joshua to have the Israelites march around the walls for 7 days. On the seventh day, as they shouted out to God, the walls of the city actually crumbled, allowing the Israelites to march right in. Joshua and the Israelites fought many battles, and God helped them time and time again begin to capture the promised land. Just as things were starting to look pretty good, Joshua died, and the Israelites fell into a terrible cycle. An enemy nation would attack them or enslave them. Only then would the Israelites cry out to God to be rescued. And God would rescue them, but pretty soon after, they'd go back to living the way they wanted to again, ignoring God, until the next enemy attacked. Now, before we all come down so hard on the Israelites, maybe we just stop and admit it to each other. This cycle sounds pretty familiar, doesn't it? Yep, I'm guessing more than a few of us know a little something about this. Despite this cycle, God had a plan for the Israelites. God raised up a series of men and women called judges, warriors and decision makers who would help rescue Israel from its enemies. God used judges like Deborah, Gideon, and Samson to bring miraculous victories to the Israelites, despite being outnumbered and in dire circumstances. The last judge had such a special relationship with God that he eventually was called something different, a prophet. God used Samuel to help guide the nation of Israel and stay on track, helping them to be the blessing God wanted them to be. Despite God rescuing and leading the Israelites through the judges and the prophet Samuel, the Israelites looked at other nations around them and saw that they had kings, powerful men who ruled their countries. The people of Israel said they wanted to be like everyone else and demanded that God give them the same kind of king.